Good evening. I have decided to do my article presentation on improving student teamwork in a collaborative project-based course by Edward Knapp. I thought this research was really interesting because at DU, especially our first year, we do a lot of group projects and a lot of teamwork kind of stuff that's really important. And so working together collaboratively in a group is very, very important, and it's important that you know how to do it effectively. So first, I will talk about the positive of student collaborative projects. Students working collaboratively to achieve a common goal produce higher achievement and exhibit greater productivity than they do working alone. Collaborative work can lead to improvements in intrinsic motivation, enhanced persistence on the part of students when faced with adversity, and greater transferability of knowledge and skills acquired through the collaborative learning experience. Students involved with collaborative projects and team experience improve attitudes toward teamwork overall. Students' communication skills, problem-solving abilities, and their capability to work effective members of a team, which develop and improve from collaborative learning activities, are all attributes highly valued by future employees. So this would be really beneficial in the future when students are going out looking for jobs and working in any working environment. So next, we will look at the negatives of student collaborative projects. The author mentions, the first one he mentions is free riding, which includes one or more individual team members that do not contribute to their full potential, and instead they rely on other members of the group to carry them through. A second one is hijacking. So this involves a situation where one of the members takes complete control of the assignment and then kind of aggressively directs assignments to other members of the team while they actively discourage their participation in any form of decision making. So these are probably, you've probably heard of these, they're very common in group work, and I've definitely had some personal experience myself. So moving on, after the author talks about the positive and negatives in the beginning of the intro, we move on to who is in the study. So the study is focusing on undergraduate students, males and females, between the ages of 20 and 25. And the class is called Analysis and Design for Safety Industrial Operations. So in this class, every semester, the class is divided into teams, and they work on 2 different projects. This is kind of like their capstone class at the end of their senior year. So it's very self-managing and minimal assistance from the instructor. They kind of have like a team coordinator that kind of leads in a sense. So yeah, that's who is involved in the study. Next, we're kind of looking at maybe why this author, the researcher, decided to do this research. And basically it's because, there are difficulties for students working together effectively. There's been a history of students reporting unfair distributions of work, and students were dissatisfied with their experience, and the quality of work was not very good. So moving on to the purpose of this study, it was basically to evaluate team building intervention designed to improve the students' abilities to work together in a group and as an effective team. Excuse me. The interventions used were a team building workshop, which took place in the very beginning of the semester. In the very first class, it only took an hour. And then the second intervention were the peer evaluations. And those were administered 3 times throughout the semester. So moving on, we will do the team building workshop. This, again, was the beginning of the semester. Fall 2004 was when this study was conducted. And at the beginning of the semester, the very first class, they took an hour of the class to do a team building workshop. And this workshop looked at individual personalities and preferred working styles of different individuals. They looked at these different poses for group work and how to take advantage of these opportunities to get over problems to achieve strong collaborative work. So these are kind of the 3, again, the kind of why they were doing this workshop and what specifically they were looking for. In order to do this, they conducted a human continuum exercise. So basically, the students Through this exercise, the students recognized the different personal preferences and preferred working styles among their peers by having them physically place themselves on the continuum. And it was done by asking both of these questions. And then this was to help convey to the students the wide range of work styles that will allow you to be representative on the teams and the advantages that including a mix of perspectives and working styles that bring to the project. And then the next exercise they did was that the students were then randomly assigned to their groups, and they were to talk about, they were to introduce themselves, and a lot of them had been had met before through other classes and worked together before. So they were to discuss their past experiences with teams, so both the good and the bad. Then they were to present to the class one good team experience they had had, and then the one bad team experience they had had. And then the class kind of took all these, discussed them. The professor wrote them up on the board. So then there was a handout that was distributed to the teams to address any characteristics of effective teams that were not covered throughout the class discussion. And lastly, they signed contracts. All the team members signed contracts, and on the contracts they had anything from attending all the scheduled meetings to informing team members of lateness to team meetings, or if a location had changed or anything like that, and completing the assignments on schedule. So just going about how exactly they would do everything. Contracts were signed and given to the instructor. So next part of the workshop included peer evaluations. So this was 3 evaluations were given throughout the semester based on his or her individual performance from the fellow team members based on their team contracts. So basically, how well the team members were interacting with each other, how much they were contributing, how much they were showing up on time, communicating well. Individual team members with meaningful feedback on their performance. The peer evaluations, they were also used by the instructors to monitor each individual team member's contribution on the overall team performance. And the instructor also used this peer evaluation. It was part of actually the students' grade and how they reacted to their performance. So now we will move on to the evaluation of the team building exercises. Triangulated data approach was used. So the student had 2 written responses to 2 open-ended questions, and also the responses to these questions were coded by the author and another independent coder, and they were coded as positive, neutral, or negative. And so they were based on these 2 students' perception of his team's performance and students' attitudes towards the academic teamwork overall. And then there is a comparison of the student course evaluations. So here are the results from the study. 85% of the students reported having a positive perception of their team performance, and 93% reported a positive attitude toward academic teamwork. At least 2 members of every team attributed their team's success to the team's ability to develop a collaborative climate in which the members became familiar. And they became familiar with each other and the preferred working styles and learned to work together. Actually, here are 2 quotes that this one was pulled from the team building workshop, and this one was from the peer evaluation. So it was very, very, very positive. You'll see on the next slide, descriptive statistics are provided, lending support to the successes of the intervention. So here we will move on to a table that was provided in the article, and this just shows spring of 2004 and then fall of 2004 when the study was conducted, and the course evaluation. So as you can see, there was a big increase in students and what they thought of the class and just working together as a team and how effective that was. To the discussion. So, overall, there was reported a positive perception of the team performance and a positive attitude toward academic teamwork. The establishing a collaborative team climate and creating shared expectations allow the teams to work together comfortably and effectively. This was credited to the team building workshop and the peer evaluation system by the students. Moving on to the limitations that were discussed, there was actually only one limitation discussed in this study. So students may have been overly positive in their responses to these questions in an attempt to solicit a more favorable grade on the examination from the instructor. Lastly, we will talk about the application, and I just kind of wanted to talk about specifically the application in sport and performance psychology, especially in our program at DU. I think that this study kind of shows that instructors can improve students' abilities to work together effectively in teams through a targeted team building intervention. I think maybe having some team building and orientation in the beginning of the summer with each cohort would be very effective. Just learning each other's working styles and how you learn and just how you want to go about working in a project together. Just taking also, I think it would be beneficial to take a few minutes of every class at the beginning of the quarter to kind of like figure out what group projects are being done that quarter and who you're working with, and just kind of like how you're going to work on that project, how you're going to go about scheduling, where you're going to meet, and various aspects like that, just so you can get to know each other and how you work a little better, and whether you're procrastinating or whether you're going to do it really far ahead would be beneficial, and overall better experience for the students and better quality information on the projects. Also, I thought it was really interesting that they did peer evaluation. We do usually at the end of every quarter at DU, and it's really, really beneficial, especially from the feedback that you get from your peers. The quality of this research was really strong. I thought it was very interesting, and it had a very strong significance in the results. And it's very simple. It only really took an hour out of class time and then a little time to do the evaluations, which could even be done out of class if possible. Team building can be effective in having groups work collaboratively together, especially in a team, in a sports team. We can relate this to any kind of team, whether it's a grocery store team or a Target team or a sports team. Just having upfront kind of an ice-breaking activity with some team building can allow the players and workers to get to know each other and how they work in a team and be more effective in the future. It's very applicable to and relatable to coaches, and just knowing who your students are, knowing who your individual players are, knowing who your workers are, and how they're going to work together. I thought this research was very interesting and very helpful. I think it's something that we could all benefit from, and I thank you for your time, and hope you enjoy.